Sharyn Gale, and I am reading at Hickory Bookstore in Washington Depot, Connecticut. And I'm going to read a selection from Toni Morrison's The Bluest, which, again, many of you have read, I'm sure. This has been banned periodically throughout many states in this country. I think the why is probably apparent. It's been a situation where back in 1970, when Toni Morrison wrote this, the boarded up windows of Black America were not really on view, or people didn't desire to look behind those boarded up windows and see what was really going on. And it's a powerful book. There's a lot of very explicit sexuality. There's rape. There's lots of scenes in there that are pretty rough, which is probably another reason why it was banned. But it's a profound work, and I think it was Toni Morrison's first, if I'm not mistaken. So Piccola, who is 11 years old, has prayed and prayed and prayed to have blue eyes. And she figures that if she has blue eyes, then she will matter. She'll be noticed. She'll be recognized. And she'll be beautiful. And so this is a passage from Piccola's point of view. Each night without fail she prayed for blue eyes. Fervently, for a year she had prayed. Although somewhat discouraged, she was not without hope. To have something as wonderful as that happen would take a long, long time. Thrown in this way into the binding conviction that only a miracle could relieve her, she would never know her beauty. She would see only what there was to see, the eyes of other people. She walks down Garden Avenue to a small grocery store which sells penny candy. 3 pennies are in her shoe, slipping back and forth between the sock and the inner sole. With each step she feels the painful press of the coins against her foot, a sweet, endurable, even cherished irritation, full of promise and delicate security. There's plenty of time to consider what to buy. Now, however, she moves down an avenue gently buffeted by the familiar and therefore loved images, the dandelions at the base of the telephone pole. Why, she wonders, do people call them weeds? She thought they were pretty. There was a sidewalk crack shaped like a Y, and the other one that lifted the concrete up from the dirt floor. These and other inanimate things she saw and experienced, they were real to her. She knew them. They were the codes and touchstones of the world, capable of translation and possession. She owned the crack that made her stumble. She owned the clumps of dandelions whose white heads last fall she had blown away, whose yellow heads this fall she peered into. And owning them made her part of the world, and the world a part of her. She climbs 4 wooden steps to the door of Jakubowski's fresh veggie meat and sundries store. A bell tinkles as she opens it. Standing before the counter, she looks at the array of candies. All Mary Janes, she decides, 3 for a penny. The resistant sweetness that breaks open at last to deliver peanut butter, the oil and salt which complement the sweet pull of caramel. A peal of anticipation unsettles her stomach. She pulls off her shoe and takes out the 3 pennies. The gray head of Mr. Jakubowski looms up over the counter. He urges his eyes out of his thoughts to encounter her, blue eyes, blear dropped. Slowly, like Indian summer moving imperceptibly toward fall, he looks toward her. Somewhere between retina and object, between vision and view, his eyes draw back, hesitate, and hover. At some fixed point in time and space, he senses that he need not waste the effort of a glance. He does not see her, because for him there's nothing to see. How can a 52-year-old white immigrant storekeeper with a taste of potatoes and beer in his mouth, his mind honed on the doe-eyed Virgin Mary, his sensibilities blunted by a permanent awareness of loss, see a little black girl? Nothing in his life even suggested that the feat was possible, not to say desirable or necessary. Yeah? She looks up at him and sees the vacuum where curiosity ought to lodge, and something more, the total absence of human recognition, the glazed separateness. She does not know what keeps his glance suspended. Perhaps because he's grown, or a man, and she a little girl. But she has seen interest, disgust, even anger in grown male eyes. Yet this vacuum is not new to her. It has an edge. Somewhere in the bottom lid is the distaste. She has seen it lurking in the eyes of all white people. So the distaste must be for her, her blackness. All things in her are flux and anticipation, but her blackness is static and with dread. And it is the blackness that accounts for, that creates the vacuum edged with distaste in white eyes. She points her finger at Mary Jane's, a little black shaft of finger, its tip pressed on the display window, the quietly inoffensive assertion of a black child's attempt to communicate with a white adult. Them. The word is more sigh than sense. What, these? These? Phlegm and impatience mingle in his voice. She shakes her head, her fingertip fixed on the spot, which, in her view, at any rate, identifies the Mary Janes. He cannot see her view. The angle of his vision, the slant of her finger, makes it incomprehensible to him. His lumpy red hand plops around in the glass casing like the agitated head of a chicken, outraged by the loss of its body. Christ, can't you talk? His fingers brush the Mary Jane's. She nods. Well, why don't you say so? One? How many? Pecola unfolds her fist, showing the 3 pennies. He scoots 3 Mary Janes toward her, 3 yellow rectangles in each packet. She holds the money toward him. He hesitates, not wanting to touch her hand. She does not know how to move the finger of her right hand from the display counter or how to get the coins out of her left hand. Finally, he reaches over and takes the pennies from her hand. His nails graze her damp palm. Outside, Pecola feels the inexplicable shame ebb. Dandelions. A dart of affection leaps out from her to them, but they do not look at her and do not send love back. She thinks they are ugly, they are weeds. Preoccupied with that revelation, she trips on the sidewalk crack. Anger stirs and wakes in her. It opens its mouth, and like a hot-mouthed puppy, laps up the dredges of her shame.